if you had to choose, would you prefer to have your jersey retired by Kentucky or by the Wizards? You can only pick one. You can only pick one. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Point Game presented by DraftKings. Don't forget, DraftKings is your home for all the action across the NBA and gets you closer to the game we all love. The crown is yours. I'm C.J. Toledano, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the five-time NBA All-Star, number one overall pick, John Wall. John, how you feeling, man?
What's up, man? I'm great, man. Very excited to get back to another episode. It seemed like we'd be taking too long off, but, we were giving them one episode a week, but I'm definitely excited to be back and get another episode going.
Now, let me ask you, now that you have this platform, you're doing the pod, are you thinking about it all week where you're you're watching a game, you're I got a great take here, a good opinion here, I want to hop on the mic. How are you feeling now that you got this pod?
I feel great, man. I'm very excited to get to a new episode every week. I kind of watch games, and then, I'm watching women's game and men's game, and just trying to figure okay, who can I add next to the next episode? Or who can I add to the next show and try to make it interesting?
But I wanted to because this podcast unintentionally has become a little bit of a Kentucky podcast, Kentucky basketball podcast. So I wanted to shout them out and say appreciate you guys all listening. And I did want to shout out because a bunch of the current players who we hope to have on the show just got named, got some SEC awards. Shout out Reed Shepard, who just got Freshman of the Year, and Rob Dillingham, who got Sixth Man of the Year. What does it feel like seeing those players, who are following in your footsteps get these awards?
I think it's dope, man. Shout out to Tony Reese also, all first team, all conference. And DJ Wagner, he made all freshman team with those guys, I think just having a team like that, the most important thing is, everybody have their own individual accolades they want to get. But when you get to go up there and you got a couple of your teammates up there, that just lets you know how y'all chemistry and camaraderie is and how y'all bonding as a team. And that's one thing Coach Cal always preaches. When you come here or you do anything, just don't try to do it by yourself. And when you got multiple guys that's able to get awards or be something special in your conference, that means y'all heading in the right direction. And we just got a big win against Tennessee. So I was excited to see that the way they played defense that game. If they can keep that intensity up for the rest of the year, they got a great chance to do something special in March.
And John, I wanted to, because you mentioned all the, the hype it is to play at Kentucky. The other fun part that you got to go through was because Drake had a concert. He returned to Rupp Arena for the first time, I think, in 12 years. And he brought Rob on stage. Can you, we've talked about it a little bit on the show. Can you describe that relationship between Drake and Kentucky and how special that is?
Like Boog said, I think we set the trend. Having Drake come around. And it was funny because he had a concert at the time when we went to it. And it was just exciting. Just building a brotherhood and a bond with him. And Kentucky's his school he supports. He had that picture when he was warming up one time. I think Midnight Madison shot an air ball. Then he posted a famous picture what he did when D Bookinen was on the team. It's just great, man. And for him to have opportunity all the states he can go to take a stop in Kentucky and for those guys to get to see it. It was big time because it comes right after having a big game Saturday in Tennessee. You get that win, you come back Sunday and you get to see Drake, Lil Durk and all them come out there. So and J. Cole. So that was big time. To get opportunity to just be out there and see that type of concert in Kentucky. They very rarely get those type of shows. So I know the fans appreciated that. And just for the guys on the team, man, like I said, getting a great win and getting to see meet those guys, I think it was special for them.
Do you think that Drake has an effect on recruitment at all? I think we've seen Coach Cal, at Drake's house. Do you think some of these players who are being recruited are having a tough time deciding, or oh man, Drake's got that affiliation?
I don't really think so. I think they had an opportunity. They was playing in Toronto, at the time. So Drake was like, okay, y'all can use my house to practice. That's the type of person he is. So it's not like every team and every year they're going to get to go to Toronto and play, get to play in Canada. But I think it was just perfect. They went to play in Canada. Drake's like, you know what? My house is open to anybody. Practice there, do anything. But that just lets you know what his connection is with Kentucky, how much he supports Coach Cal and supports the school. So that's big time for us. But I wouldn't say it helps us with recruiting because we don't get to go there every year.
It's that small chance. So anyone being recruited right now, think about that. Okay, I wanted to get into some current NBA talk. because some players right now who are really continuing to impress. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts, because I think the great thing about you hosting this pod again is like you've played against some of these guys. Like you have some insights that some of these other panel talking heads are just spouting off hot takes. So the guy that is really kind of putting it on right now, Luka Doncic. He's just had six straight 30-point triple doubles. Last night he came up short. He had 27 points, triple double, but they also got the win. So I wanted to get your overall thoughts on Luka as a player and what it was like. I think you guys played each other like 6 games. Like, what are your thoughts on Luka?
Special. Very special. He's played against grown people his whole life. Like some of us growing up over here in the States, we played against older people. But he had the opportunity to play in the professional league since I think he maybe 14. And was dominating. And just to see the levels he's at, man, like it's hard to guard in this league. You can't hand check. You can't be really physical. But that guy like that can make all tough shots off the dribble. Has a famous step back where he has counters too. But his pace, you can never speed him up. He's a big body. He knows how to use it. He's great at getting angles. A lot of pump fakes, a lot of great footwork. His passing ability is impeccable. And I think that's what separates him, because you blitzing him, but he can make every read at like 6'8". And I think they added some great pieces to their team. Daniel Gafford, P.J. Washington, especially having Kyrie, one of the best one-on-one players of all time. And those guys just playing at a high level. And you have a great coach in Jason Kidd that knows how to break down the game, knows the point guard position. So, like I looked at it, I was watching the game in the first quarter. He damn near had like 15, 9, and 8. I'm like, man, he's about to have a triple-double in the first quarter. But it's just exciting, man. Like, right now he's on a roll. He's in a hot streak. And when he's making that step-back jumper, there's really nothing you could do, because he's getting to the paint. He has every read he can make. He has knockdown shooters on the wing. And he has a lob threat between Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. So having those two pieces with a player like that can pass the ball, score at will, and find shooters, it's tough. You got to pick your poison.
And I'm trying to figure out if there's a player that we've seen like him before. Are there any other players that he like sort of compares to, or is he just like this new thing?
I feel like the run he's on, like what he's doing, it's kind of like James Harden when he was in Houston. Yeah. James did it by himself for a while. Then they added CP to the mix. Then they added Russell to give him another star player. So I think that's what Luka's been doing. We've been seeing it for years. And then they add Kyrie Irving to kind of give him some help. But him and James are two different dynamics, though. James is very crafty, killer step back, get to the rim, and can find paces. But, Luka's more post-up footwork and things like that. But that's the only thing I can kind of compare it to, like not footwork-wise and not finishing ability-wise, because James is sneaky athletic whenever you want to use it. But the way he's been on the run with Dallas, that's how I feel like James was with Houston. Like, that's who I can compare it to if I'm thinking about basketball.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it's wild because I don't know what the next level of Luka could be. So, like, what do you think he needs? Is it with him that he needs to step his game up a little bit to contend for a title? Or what are some pieces you think that the Mavs could use that can kind of get them there?
Well, for me, from my perspective, I don't think you need any other pieces. I think they have the right pieces. Then you have Tim Hardaway off the bench that can make shots. P.J. Washington, great fit. Josh Green, Derek Jones, and those guys. For me, I think Luka get off the ball just a little bit, so it moves a little bit more to get more people involved. And then whenever he needs to be ball dominant, he can do that at will. We've seen it already. And the only challenge I would have for me is just him committing more on the defensive end. I think if he commits a little bit more on the defensive end, that makes them a better team. I think the way he's got himself in great shape, because in the past people said he wasn't in shape. But it's kind of tough because when I'm dominated, if I'm dominating at will out of shape or in shape, it's kind of like I pick and choose which one I want to do. I think for him, that's whatever he wants to decide. I think he decided to get in the best shape he could coming into this year, and that's why he got off to a hot start. The Mavericks are one of the best teams in the league. They've been a lot better since they made the trade. I just think if he locks in a little bit more consistently on the defensive end and not complaining about every call, because, like, damn near every time he drives again to the basket, either he's finishing, making the right play, or he's getting fouled. And kind of same thing like LeBron. He's like, every time he drives, like, either you're going to call the foul every time or let him finish and play. So if he don't worry about what the refs are calling the fouls for him or not and continue to play and compete on the other end, they'll be special. That's the only take I have on it. But when you're that talented and that special, it's kind of like, I'm cool with where I'm at.
Do you remember some of the scouting reports on him, or like even just like facing him? Did you ever have to D up on Luka, and how did you play?
Well, me, I've kind of played him a little bit, like most of the time when I was in Houston a lot. Me, it's just the most important thing. You just try to stay down on the step back. You know what I mean? The step back, he has a great counter to it. And me, I just try to stay down on it and contest the shot as best as possible. You know what I mean? Uh, and then in the post, I just try to stay down and be physical. And I mean, those type of guys, they're special for a reason because no matter how great defense you play, they make tough shots. Yeah. And I just try to make it tough on as much as possible. And then on the other end, with guys like that, they're so talented and so ball dominant and so much of the usage rate on the offense end, you got to make them work on the other end. So I would try to put him in pick and rolls and try to attack him and make him work on the other end so he can be a little bit fatigued or tired on the other end.
Yeah, kind of like hope for the best. But with Luka, I think he's a sign of like this new generation. Like the MVP talks are some newer names. SGA is another guy that comes to mind. And I know, he came from Kentucky. So I'm curious what your thought is. Like, who would you rather start a franchise with Luka or SGA?
That's a great question, man. More importantly, you probably say Luka because just how dominant he is, passing, rebounding, and all that. But at the same time, it's like you got to say SGA also because he had the team that's the number one in the West, and nobody expected the youngest team in the league to be up in that platform. You know what I mean? So that lets you know he's dominating, knowing taking over games, but he also teaching those young guys in it. And I feel like their coach is a great coach. I don't know him well, but to get all those young guys to play at that level, they're following their leader footsteps. So for me, it's a tough decision, but I'll probably say I would go SGA.
Yeah, I mean, people are like, SGA's gone on a crazy, I think, 30-point run. I think he said like 37.
Yeah, he's on like, he's OD, but like the most important thing about it, he plays at his own pace. You're not speeding him up. He's playing smooth. But he's getting all those other guys to buy in, compete at a high level, and they're winning some games. It ain't like they're just beating mediocre teams. They're beating some of the best teams in the league and competing against them on a nightly basis. And when it comes down to the fourth quarter, you know who's getting the ball. And a guy like that's not always getting to the basket, but he's finishing the game off mid-ranges. That's very tough to be shooting 50% from that angle.
Yeah. All right, John. So I wanted to move on, and I wanted to talk about women's basketball because you're a big supporter of that. You're always shouting out the game. College basketball, the tournament's about to come up. I don't know if you saw the other night, the LSU-South Carolina fight, but things are getting heated. Is it fair to say that the women's game is sometimes more intense than the men's game?
That's a good question. I think now what's going on, like the spotlight that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have put on college basketball for women has been amazing. You know what I mean? From last year when they played in the national championship game. And then you have to shout out Dawn Staley, what she's been doing at South Carolina. You know what I mean? 2 years in a row, undefeated seasons. I think that spotlight is big, and I think they might be bigger than the men's basketball right now in college. You know what I mean? Because everybody's paying attention, trying to see what's going on. And I think that's a heated battle. You know what I mean? Like LSU are the defending champs. Dawn Staley and them is used to being the champs, and they won 2 years in a row undefeated. And you're battling for SEC championship, and then something like that happens. You know what I mean? It's competitive. Like, you want that type of competitive to go on. Then at the same time, you have Fly J. Johnson, brother, jump over the table. Like, you know what I mean? We understand you want to protect your sister, but not at this moment, you know what I mean? Because that's not what you want. But you understand, like I said, when you're in those emotions and you see somebody that you love or somebody that you're a teammate that you respect or competing at a high level, you know what I mean? Your attention just go quick. I'm glad nothing escalated and nothing bad happened. Right. It's just they both had to finish the game with no benches. Like, nobody was there. But it was great to see them compete. Dawn Staley speak up and say what she said. And just hopefully they can build that fire and go into the NCAA tournament. But I love the way college basketball is going right now. And it's definitely got some stars in it. Shout out Juju. She's definitely balling for USC. Yeah. So I like where they're going.
That's what I was going to say with the women's game is that it kind of shows what would happen if some of the players stayed longer. Like these rivalries really built up. Like you kind of can circle those games on the calendar. I'll be like, I'll see you next year. So like, do you agree with that? And like, would that kind of fuel like some teams that you wanted to come back out against if you played future years at Kentucky?
For sure. Like, you know what I mean? Going to Tennessee and losing, going to South Carolina and losing. Like, I wanted to go undefeated in the SEC, you know what I mean? And those are the only games we lost all year. So, like, I definitely, like, if I had another year to go back, I'm like, okay, I got to win here this year. You know what I mean? So you hold those in the back of your mind, like, okay, you beat me at home, I lost to you on the road. I gotta win both next time. You know what I mean? Because your homeboy might do, your homegirl might go there, and you're like, you know what? You 1-1 this year. I want to go 2-0 against you. Like, those are like rivals. Those are like competitors you grow up and want to do. And it's kind of like you see Carolina and Duke. Those guys that be there multiple years. It's like no matter what game you win or lose all year, you got to win this game. It's like if we play Louisville, we might lose every game. We cannot lose that game. So, like, it's definitely dope when you have those type of rivals. And like you said, I think kind of with NIL now, some of these kids that are pushing themselves to go to the NBA so fast, but might not be ready. And then they have opportunity to, like, you know what? I'm making a little bit of money. I can stay an extra year to develop myself and give myself a better draft stock. Because kind of in the past, you know, like some guys have pushed themselves to the league, and like Cal said, it might not be the year for you to go. You might go second round or go undrafted, and then your career is going to a different path than you thought. So I think with NIL, you might get opportunity for kids to stay 2-3 years, and then you get to see these battles and these rivals keep their span and stand more.
Yeah. I want to go back to Caitlin Clark because we talked about her a little bit on a previous show. And I think, especially with tournament time coming up, and you were in the same situation where, you know, everyone was saying you're the number one pick, but then you still got this major tournament coming up. Can you talk a little bit about what might be going through her head or some of these obstacles, you know, being in the present with this incredible career ahead of her, like going into this tournament?
Well, I think the difference for her is she's been in college a couple years, you know what I mean? And then to go to the national championship game, fall short, and come back, and then you break records after record after record. She has in her mind she's probably trying to get back to the championship game again. And then her ultimate goal is to try to win. And for me, it was kind of different because was in school for 1 year. You know what I mean? So I could have went into the tournament like, you know what? I don't care where we go. I'm about to go to the NBA anyway. But that just kind of tells like what type of person you are and what type of character you are for yourself, because I knew where my ultimate goal was going to be at the end of the year. But my ultimate goal, like I always speak to this day, is I still feel like I failed myself and failed Coach Cal because I didn't win the national championship. Like, that's what I wanted. Like, that's what my whole experience at college was, all right, you're going to be here, get the best out of everything you can. Give everything you got to this and focus on whatever else afterwards. And I think that's where I put my mind at going into college. Like, okay, here's the buzzer, your number one pick, but keep your radar on what you're here for. That's enjoy college and get the best experience you can out of it. And I think it was a lot different for me, but she's been there so many years, so she kind of understands and been there. And I think it's dope for her. She's doing it back home where she's from, and I think that's even more exciting. But for her to even go win a Big Ten championship, it's like, all right, Caitlin Clark went to the championship last year. She's breaking these records, but are she winning? I think her team only lost like 3 games. So for her to be on that level, to uplift her team, to uplift her coach, to uplift her community, that's amazing and what she's doing. And you could say the same. Shout out Juju Watkins, you know what I mean, going to USC, being home. I don't know the last time they won a Pac-12 championship, but to go there and do that, that's major. And then she's breaking records of the most 30 points in the SEC, USC freshman year. So she's got a lot more college left. And it's like, imagine what she's going to be in the next 2 to 3 years. Like how much more exciting she's going to bring college basketball. So Caitlin Clark set the bar high. Then you had Sabrina Nescu before that, and you had Asia Wilson and those people. But it's just great to see, man, and just see the women's game continue to grow and continue to get better. And I hope people continue to put that spotlight on them and watch.
How do you think the NBA can help support the WNBA more? Like, I think a lot of it comes down to like we have so much spotlight on NBA, but like, do you think that the NBA can do some stuff to kind of give some more of the stage to the WNBA?
I think so, and I think Adam Silver will do a great job, in the star players we have in our league that's help control a lot of things and better the situation we have. I think they'll do a great job of trying to figure those ways out. But I think, the way that the NBA guys are going to WNBA games, supporting them. Whenever there's opportunity to wear a T-shirt or do anything to support them, we're doing that. And I think more and more you get to see that because the social media is so big and giving them that type of platform. It's exciting. And I think the game is growing for them. I hope it continue to grow and grow better. For me, it's not always about the money, but I hope they can continue to grow and get those girls more money. I think they're more deserving of that. You know what I mean? Because if you have a kid that's growing up, you have a daughter, and you be like, I want to get to the WNBA. Be like, all right, well, I love the game, but can I be financially stable with this, or do I need to go another route? And I feel like that's the next step for them, but just trying to get to the financial stable spot for those, because those women are so talented. And to be a professional athlete, I think they should be paid and treated like professional athletes. There's nothing they can control, but look at it now. Some NILs are making more money than WNBA players. So that's the reason why a woman college basketball player might be like, I'm going to stay in school 2-3 more years because of what I have and the access I have now. So hopefully what these players, college players in the past or WNBA players in the past have withstood and put into the game of the basketball for women, that they can finally get over that hump and get to that point. Because I think it'd be major for those, and it'd be a great platform for them.
Yeah. I just think also, too, with like the All-Star game, we've talked about it before, that Sabrina versus Steph stuff. Like, we got to expand on that. Like, we got to be a little bit more creative, integrate the women's game into the men's game. Like, shooters can shoot, despite gender. So I thought that was really dope, and I hope that we can see that in future All-Star weekends, summer league and stuff like that, just getting the men and women in the same spot, competing against each other, and just, same sort of treatment that we get on NBA events, as, for the WNBA events. So I totally agree with you.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, we're going to take a break here on Point Game, but when we come back, we're going to answer some fan questions. This is Point Game, presented by DraftKings. Okay. Welcome back to Point Game. Now, John, we asked our fans out there and people who are listening to drop some questions for you. And so we got a few here that we'd love to ask. This one comes from Twitter, C.A. Huggins. Thanks for listening to the show. He asks, who are some of your favorite NBA teammates?
All time?
All time.
Bradley Beal for sure. Trevor Ariza for sure. Marquise Morris for sure. Man, I got too many. Paul Pierce was a good team, a great teammate.
What was playing
all my
like
OGs, man.
What was playing?
All my OGs, Al Harrington, Drew Gooden, Andre Miller. Those are all great teammates, man. Gortat was great. Like, can name all the guys. They was great, man, because like I said, like Brad, we just built that chemistry and was one of the best backcourts in the league. Marquise Morris, just building that bond relationship with him on and off the court, him and my family becoming close and tight. Then I had the opportunity to play with his brother. Then all the OGs, man, they just taught me so much about the game. Like how to be a professional. Yeah. Just not my work ethic, but how to move off the court, how to do certain things. And just building that bond to have a relationship with them outside of basketball was special to me. So I would say those guys.
Who was the funniest teammate you ever had?
I don't know, man. I got too many teammates.
Was it you? Were you the clown?
I might have been the funniest guy. Yeah, like me. I was just, living. And then shout out my boy Otto Porter too, man, on a hell of a NBA career. Just retired, won a championship. But shout out Otto Porter.
Next one from the podcast review, Bleeds UK Blue asks, if you had to choose, would you prefer to have your jersey retired by Kentucky or by the Wizards? You can only pick one.
God, that hurt right there. For me, I would say the Wizards, though. Okay. I think like Kentucky, I love being there. I've been in the Kentucky Hall of Fame already. I think that was special to get that. Probably one of the quickest guys to get that, leaving after 1 year. But I would say the Wizards get my jersey retired there because being there for 10 years, being drafted number one there, that gave me the opportunity to live out my NBA dream. My mom being able to be there and be on that stage to watch me. Both of my boys are born in D.C. And just the love I built with the community, the fan base, giving my all to them, and my dad being born from there. So I would definitely say DC.
How are you still interacting with the DC, the communities or like the fan base out there? Like I know people are still talking about how much they love you over there, despite it being a few years since you last played for them. So how are you still interacting with them?
Still try to do like my foundation stuff there with my team, try to help out the community as much as possible. And I just think the bond and the relationships I built with all the work I've done. And trust and believe, I don't do it for the media attention or for the publicity. I just do it because I come from the bottom of my heart and I know how tough times are and where these people come from. So I always try to get back and put a smile on their faces. That's something my mom instilled in me. Like I said before, always be known as a better person and a better basketball player. And that's something I always strive on and continue to strive on to make sure she's smiling while she's up top. So I try to touch them as much as possible. I try to speak to them whenever I get opportunity to. And if I ever go back, I try to just have dinner with a lot of people that work with me, a lot of people that was around me. Like I said, when I played my game there last year when I was with the Clippers, it gave me chills because I bought tickets for everybody that's been a part of the John Wall, coming from a little kid to having tattoos to having kids on my own in this world. Tickets to the game. And to see the smile on their faces, to see me out there, and just to see them in the stands was amazing. I tried to take pictures with everybody afterwards, but it was like, come on, coach, want to do this? And I went back out there again. But it's just fun, man. Like I said before, nobody knows how much pressure it is for a kid that's 18, 19 years old to come and be a face of a franchise. Yeah. You're not taking over just one team. The whole city is behind you, and they want you to uplift it. And it's definitely not easy. So it's another thing I piggyback on, like having vets that's been through that before to help some of these young guys that's new in the league. They need those vets or need to reach out to those guys that been through it and can teach them how to go through it and the mistakes they made and the mistakes that can help them from not making. But I definitely enjoy my time at DC.
Love that. Wizards, make the call. We got to see that happen. Okay. This one is a really good question from our TikTok, which is going off. We all kind of remember this moment. At least I remember it as a fan, but they ask, was KD really supposed to join the Wizards in 2016, 2017?
No.
You didn't think so?
No.
Any backstory on that? I know people were just like, is he coming back home to DMV?
No, I just felt like he wasn't. I mean, I think there's no pressure for KD. Like anywhere he goes, plays, he's built for the pressure. That's how talented and gifted he is. I just didn't think he wanted to come back home, and probably it could have been his personal reasons, which I don't know, but I just had a feeling he didn't want to come back home. So I never thought he was really coming there.
Did you, what would the team be like if KD had joined? Like, would it unlock some aspects of your game?
We would have won at least one championship for sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was a star player. Brad was coming to his own to being a star. We definitely needed another superstar or another closer. You know what I mean? Like, I say this all the time in my career. I never got the opportunity to play with that type of level of talent. I mean, Brad was great early on. Then he blossomed even more when I was injured and got traded afterwards. I feel like in my prime in DC, if I had a player like that, we at least would have won one. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like some of the like the narrative behind the small market teams is sort of changing, where I feel like everyone was always talking about, I'm trying to go to the Knicks, I'm trying to go to the Lakers, Golden State. Like, do you think it's changed a little bit since you last played for Washington? Like, with the star players coming to these smaller teams like Tyrese at the Pacers and whatnot?
Well, I think he got traded there, so that's different.
Right.
And I like DC, for me, it's not a small market. I mean, it's one of the biggest markets. Like, everybody loves basketball, and they're right there. I just think we just didn't get the pieces we could have tried to have. I felt like in that same year we tried to get KD, I felt like we should have tried to get Paul George, because that's the year Paul George was leaving Indiana and went to OKC. And I think if we would have pushed for that, it would have happened, because he respected me, he respected Brad, and we battled against him a couple of times with Washington, Indiana. So I feel like we could have pushed for that more. I mean, because I kind of had a feeling KD wasn't coming. And I think we were just stuck-minded on that we end up getting Paul Pierce. And don't get me wrong, it was great to have him there. I mean, he wasn't the same Paul he was in Boston, but it was great to have Paul there because he was the closer that we needed at the time to make the big shots. Another one that taught us consistent work ethic, and no matter if he had a good game, bad game, a day off, he said the same routine constantly, and that's why he became so special and was great, because he mastered his work. And it was great to have him around for the year we had him.
That's a great example of how you were talking about vets matter. Vets matter in some of these ball clubs. Okay. Last one from a podcast review. G. Beal asks, what is the best pickup game you've ever been a part of?
Best pickup game, man. I would say lockout year.
Yeah.
That Chris Paul going to Winston-Salem and playing there, man. It was everybody there. You had D-Wade, Bron, Chris Paul, Steph, KD, Melo, Kyrie, me, Rudy Gay, Mario Chalmers. Jeez, the list can go on. So I think that's probably the LeBron. I know what I'm thinking. I think that might be the most loaded. You know what I mean? Like, I would say that one. Or I would say when the Goodman League played against the Drew League.
Yeah.
Star-studded. Like, we played them in D.C. and we won that one. We went to L.A. and played them. We didn't have the same team. They didn't have, and they had two. We all didn't have the same people on both games. So they got us there and we got them there. But I would say probably those two. That was like the most star-studded event I played in.
Dope. Like, I remember, and again, if people haven't seen those lockout mixtapes, can you talk about that competition? You know, like, I feel like we need some of that in the All-Star game because we got the same players playing in these games, but the All-Star game is a little bit like too loose and not as competitive, but these lockout games are crazy.
Yeah, I think just because I think we, I don't know, I guess we really just wanted to hoop and we didn't have a season at the time, you know what I mean? So playing those type of games, that was our season for the time being until the season came back. I think it's a little different in NBA, you know what I mean? You're playing so many games, and then that's kind of like, man, this is my break. Like, I'm happy to be All-Star, happy to be here, but it's like I'm break. Because I remember early on when I made All-Stars, right after the All-Star game, we basically didn't have no time for vacation. We went right back to the team. I think they give them like an extra 3 days, 2 or 3 days now that we didn't have before. So, you know, some people are like, man, All-Star is not really a break for me like everybody else is getting. So, I don't know. I think they'll do a great job of trying to figure it out and balance it out and make it what's best for everybody.
Sure. All right. So that's been fan questions. Guys, we appreciate you listening and dropping these questions in. Don't forget, just reply to all of our socials, share that stuff, and drop your questions, and we'll answer some more on some upcoming episodes. All right, welcome back to Point Game. As usual, we're going to play a little Bucket or Brick. Reminder, Bucket or Brick is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook is your home for all things NBA action, from player props to same-game parlays. Check out everything DraftKings Sportsbook has to offer to make your NBA experience even sweeter. The crown is yours. Now, as a reminder, everyone at home who hasn't seen Bucket or Brick, I'm going to tell John an NBA statement, and if he agrees with it, it's going to be bucket. If he disagrees, it's going to be a brick, and he's got to explain either way why he picked Bucket or Brick. So, John, you ready for this?
Always.
Okay, so the first one, going back to some Kentucky talk, Kentucky currently has the third best odds to win the SEC tourney behind Tennessee and Auburn, who, you know, they just beat Tennessee. But UK is plus 400, meaning if you bet 100, you're going to win 400. So, John, Bucket or Brick, Kentucky will win the SEC tournament.
Bucket. I got them winning. Like I said, going into Auburn and winning that big game against them, that's a tough place to play at. Then losing at home to Tennessee and then redeeming themselves and going to Tennessee and was basically manhandling them most of the game. You know, I mean, they had a big lead. Then Tennessee did a great job of pressing and fighting back and made it a close game than it should have been. But with that momentum of the way they play defense, the way they're scoring the ball, shooting at a high level, I think they have a great momentum going into March. And SEC tournament would be a great tournament for them to win. And it might move them up in seeding spots where they at right now. So I have Kentucky winning the SEC championship.
Yeah, I just saw Coach Cal. I don't know if you saw that on his show. He was like, why are we getting ranked behind these guys when we beat these guys? So, again, college rankings continue to baffle me.
That's what happens when you put that Kentucky on. A lot of times you get put in certain situations where you know you shouldn't be, but hey, that's what you're built for.
Okay, next one. Anthony Edwards will be NBA MVP in the next 5 years. Bucket or Brick?
Bucket for sure. Yeah. He's special, man. Like, it's like you don't really see most guys that can shoot the ball like he can and be a freak athlete. You know what I mean? But what I respect about him was no matter who's in front of him, like I feel like he's the best player on the planet. And that's how you should be at any moment. And he has that old school mentality where he's willing to accept any challenge. Like if it's a matchup versus him and Tatum or him and Jaylen Brown or him and D Book or him and KD, like, all right, they guarding me on this end, I'm guarding them on the other end. And a lot of times you don't really get that too often and too much nowadays. But to see that and see his hunger and to see, well, the mindset he has and the work ethic he has, he's took that over in Minnesota and all those guys are following his lead. And to see them where they're at is very special. I just hope they can stay above float and wait until Cat get back and get back to a full healthy team.
Now, I know what the internet compares him to. Who would you say?
Yeah, I see it all the time.
Do you see that, like MJ?
Yeah, I see it every time, all the time. You can't do nothing but see it. You know what I mean? Like how athletic he is, the demeanor, the hunger he has, the footwork he has, the moments he get in. Just look at the game against Indiana. Like he comes down, hit a big three, get a stop, come down, hit a mid-range, and come down, get one of the block where he hit his head on the rim. Like he should have been injured the way he fell. Like he didn't even know where he was. You know what I mean? So He's very special, man. He's must-see TV. He's very exciting. And it's glad you get a person like that in Minnesota, you know what I mean? Because they haven't had a guy probably since KG.
Right,
you know what I mean, to come through and be at that level and must-see TV and making all-stars on a regular basis. So it's great to see for Aaron. It's great for Minnesota Timberwolves, and I know their city and their fan base is loving it right now.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, next one. This is going to be a good one. Bucket or brick, you have the best high school mixtape of all time.
Bucket for sure. I don't even know why we debate this. Like, don't get me wrong. It's a lot of great mixtapes out there. Like Austin Rivers' mixtape is fire.
Crazy.
Kill Carr is fire. Andrew Wiggins is fire. Zion Williams is fire. But come on, bro. I have over 10 million views. Like, I set the trend. I think like I made mixtapes what they are.
For real.
You know what I mean? To be who I was and come from where I come from. I didn't never expect it to be on that level. But all those guys have great mixtapes, don't get me wrong. But I feel like I'm the one.
Can I ask you, when that came out and you shouted out the guy who shot that, like, what was your reaction? And then when that hit the internet, what was was your phone blowing up? Were people contacting you? Did it really raise your profile?
I don't even remember when it dropped, but I don't even think about I don't know when it dropped. Was I in college or still in high school? I'm not sure. Like, we have to look up the date.
Yeah, we'll look at it.
Yeah, so like probably not though, because like I was still a high school kid from Raleigh, North Carolina. So like only my friends would know, but like most people wasn't going to check YouTube back then. You know what I mean? But it was the fans that was fans of basketball that was doing that. I think more so when I got to college or I got to the league, like it was like, yo, you got that mixtape. Like you gotta go see that John Wall mixtape. And I'm like, damn, I'm really lit. And the crazy part is like a lot of those, but a lot of stuff in the mixtape, it wasn't like you had to break it down too much. It was happening like 3 or 4 or 5 times in one game. So it seemed like every time I got the ball, it was like, oh, it's about to be a highlight. Even if I didn't try to make it one, it became one because I was blocking shots, I was dunking on people, I was crossing people. So I think it was just lit. Only thing I wasn't doing was shooting jump shots. That's the only thing I wasn't doing.
I think that's when people saw like the behind the back, and then your layup package was like something that's never been seen on the internet before. Because this was like even before like Kyrie's highlights were coming out in the NBA that it was coming out. So the layup package was crazy.
Yeah.
And then I also want to shout this out. And again, I want to do a separate video with you, John, where we react. Also, your lockout mixtape is underrated. Those lockout mixtapes.
I was about to talk about that. I was about to talk about that one. But we can talk about that another time. But yeah, I feel like I don't know, bro. Just me, like I'm just a person that love to hoop, and I go hoop anywhere. You know, lockout was the perfect year because people just trying to get runs. Like you just trying to go anywhere and play. And I would just hoop.
But that's something that people don't realize is the transfer rate or like the conversion rate of like dude's got a crazy mixtape and then has like a successful run in the NBA is kind of rare. So like we mentioned Seventh Wood, Akil Carr, all talented hoopers, but like didn't have the NBA career. So it's tough. It puts kind of a target on your back when you enter in the league. I feel like that you had the crazy mixtape and some of that stuff doesn't.
Yeah, it still just give you chills. Cause like you talk to people these days, like they be at my John Wall Invitational tournament or just be in the NBA and be like, bro, you still got the fire his mixtape.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, cool.
All right. Look out for that. We're going to do a reaction video on that. Okay. Final one, going back to this. Drake can actually hoop. Drake can actually hoop bucket or brick.
Yeah, Drake can hoop. Yeah, I think he hoop. I think he started working on his game a little bit more at the went viral for that shot he took at Kentucky Midnight Madness. And he airballed, I think. So, yeah, he can definitely hoop. I think he's been working out with a couple of trainers and stuff. So, yeah, he's been improving his game. And he got his own little league at his house.
Have you been to that house? I keep seeing that gym. Like, that's in his house. That's wild.
Yeah, that's like, like everybody dream of building a house. Yeah. After I seen that house, I don't even want to build a house no more. It's like levels to it. Like, it's amazing. It's dope. Like, I've been to the house before, and it's unheard of, bro.
All right. Well,
it's not heard of.
John, appreciate all the insight and the behind the scenes you keep giving us on the game. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Point Game. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the pod. And as always, leave us a 5-star review. And while you're doing that, drop some questions in, and John and I will answer them on upcoming episodes. So thanks for watching. This has been Point Game. Peace.